This is the future. Evolution.
The Crossing Realms Conference launches September 19th and 20th and will dock in Richmond, Missouri. This is already being called the event of the year, folks, with an unprecedented list of speakers and special guests, 2 days of cryptids, UFOs, and paranormal presentations, along with a celebrity-filled ghost hunt, meet and greet, gallery reading, vendors, and a film screening. This promises to be both educational and fun. Go to eventbrite.com to secure your tickets and vendor slots before they are all abducted. They're going fast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. Of course, joining me is Tex. And where did my background is? Sometimes that background disappears on me. Okay, there we go. Welcome to the show, everybody. It's me and Tex, of course. And kind of a sad day today. Tex won't be my partner for the next 6 weeks because he's got his schedule once again over the last half decade or so. Tex has these schedules. So this will be it for Tex for about 6 weeks. So I'll be making other arrangements for these afternoon shows. But with that being said, thanks for everybody for coming on in. If you're new here, please subscribe to Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube, Texas Front Porch on YouTube, The Blondie and the Booze Paranormal Podcast on YouTube, Donnie Cho Says Stuff, Our Paranormal World with Monica Rollins, Truth or Tinfoil, Couple Paranormal Paul, Josh over at PIT, and a whole host, Danielle Diva, a whole host of us. What I always tell people, turn on the alert bell so you do not miss a single show. Run 7 days a week. We're also found on podcasts, Spreaker, Apple, Google, wherever. If you watch podcasts, we're there. So definitely go check that out. Also, thanks to everybody for buying my 2 books found on Amazon. Bigfoot Michigan Represents True Cryptid Encounters, Book 1 and Book 2. Simply type Bigfoot Michigan Rob in your Amazon browser. Leave a review for those that buy it. Does help promote the sales, the analytics, much like YouTube. Hit that like button and leave a comment after the show. That helps us out. Super Chat's open, a great way to support what we do around here. You can become a BMR pirate. That's right, mateys. Join today. Join the many. Join the few. Depends on your point of view, like I always like to say. I don't know if that makes sense, but I started saying it, and I'm sticking to it. Thanks to everybody. So with that being said, though, I'm going to bring up my partner, Mr. Tex. What's up, man?
Good morning, my friend.
Hello. How's Texas treating you this afternoon?
Wet.
Oh, you got a wet one, hey?
Yeah, we got storms for the next couple of days. So nothing majors, but just thunder boomers and rain.
We finally have some great weather. I can get outside and start doing some of the things I need to do. Today might be an hour show or maybe a little longer. It just depends. I got to take my mom perhaps to the doctor. She's getting some work done on her eyes, and they're going to dilate her eyes today, which means she can't drive. So
right.
I might have to cut this just a little short, but that's okay. Thanks to everybody for coming. Jason Finch, Diane Boss, Andres, Pops, Gary Spike Sr., how you doing? Moon at Noon, a whole host of you coming in. If I miss you, sorry. I like Ike Poncho. That's Poncho Zorch. Hello, Mindfork. Go check out Mindfork. Chris, she's got a cool variety show. Subscribe to Mindfork. Go ahead, Chris. You can drop your link if you like, since you are a moderator. Jim Christie, good to see you. A whole host of other people coming on in today. So yeah, Tex, I'm just glad we got this good weather. And what's been going on your end of town in the old crypto world? Anything new and exciting?
Not personally. Due to the weather and stuff, I haven't been able to get out in the field, but it's coming. It's coming. So I am ready to get back out there. I'm really excited about going back to Dogman Ranch because we're actually going to do some underwater investigation and filming for fossils and whatnot. So that's going to be really cool.
Underwater, eh?
Yep.
Cryptids of the lakes.
You never know what I'll run into. Maybe I can noodle us out a big catfish. We'll see.
Now, Tex, I'm probably wrong when I say this. Did you tell me a long time ago that you used to do some underwater photography? Were you a scuba diver at one point in your life?
Well, I've been diving since I was 14. I wasn't the one that did the underwater photography. That's Monica's husband. He was an underwater camera operator for a cameraman for Nat Geo and Discovery and a lot of that stuff. And me and him will be doing the underwater work for this investigation. But I was a diver. I was an inspection diver on the Possum Kingdom Dam refit project back in the day. So.
Yes, and really quickly, David. Hi, David, out in chat. Tex isn't going anywhere. He usually hosts this show with me on Tuesday afternoons. He just has a scheduling thing with his job. So yeah, he'll I won't be able. He won't be with me, but he'll Texas Front Porch is still on the air and all that. Nothing else has changed. Just this show's changing up just a little bit. So that's all that is.
Yeah, I won't be able to do this show, my morning shows, for about 6 weeks, and then my schedule will change again, and I'll be back in the swing of things. So
yeah, so it's either going to be me going solo. I'll have Brent Thomas joining me to pick up the sidekick duties. Also, if you have a tape out there and would like to audition as a co-host on the Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, send me a video.
There you go.
That'd be kind of interesting. I'll take auditions if you want to come on. If you got nothing to do from 1 o'clock to 2:30. Why not? Eastern Standard Time. You never know. You never know. So this show, I typically don't do the stories, and I'm not doing a story today, Tex, but I did get this report, which I found to be pretty interesting because it talks about, we know that Bigfoot or these creatures, they're not just in the United States. And this guy's, I just got this, it was like a report / story this guy sent me. And it's not like my typical story where I just get a story from a person that I tell. I read them up usually and kind of memorize them, but I'm not going to do that today because I didn't have time. I'm going to read it. And also, though, I'm not going to add anything into it because this also is not original to me because this guy was telling me that he sent this encounter to several other websites and people. So this might not be the first time people have heard this. So it's not just, privy for me, right? It's been out there. Right. It's been posted. He didn't tell me what websites they're on. So, and I hate when that happens because I like to give credit to the other websites that maybe have shown it. And I just have to say that disclaimer because I don't want anybody saying, "Oh, Rob, you took the story from this." Well, I did. You guys sent it to me on my personal email. So I think I'm covered on that. I don't know. I'm going to roll with it. See what happens. But this is interesting. It's kind of different though, Tex. And I figure we'll start the show with that. It's a little, I don't know how long it is. I read through it once and I'm going to see what your take is. It's kind of interesting. I found worthy of talking about here a little bit today. So I'm just going to roll with this. And this, yeah, it's interesting. This guy, hey, Rob, my name is Sanjay, sending this email about this encounter that I had. I was 7 years old in 1986. And I think today that makes him 45. Yeah, I guess. I'm shitty at math. Quick math. I think about, 45 today. I guess this guy with me. I've sent this to other websites and other people, and I thought, why not? I caught your show last year, and I watch it occasionally when I can. So I decided I saw your email, Beyond BMR, and I sent this to you. So again, my name is Sanjay. And I'm going to share my account with you, or shall I say, an ape man, Tex of Thailand.
Oh, okay.
So I thought, yeah, well, you know what? Let's do this. So he goes, this is totally surreal, baffling, but unique experience that happened when I was 6 or 7. I remember every single detail like it happened yesterday. In a tiny village of southern Thailand called Phi Bun, in the county of Nakhon Sri Tamarat, is where this took place. Philippine is tiny, just a handful of houses on wooden stilts, a temple, and a river ran behind all the houses. One day, while visiting my cousins, and then in parentheses, I lived in the neighboring village of Klong Chandi. I noticed that a crowd had gathered outside one of the houses a few doors down from where I was. I knew that house also served as a coffee shop. I witnessed to this day something that I never thought I would ever share with people or strangers for the fear of people thinking I'm crazy. Now, of course, Tex, we've always heard that before, that crazy phobia, right? You have a crazy story and you're reluctant. So, again, I saw perhaps 4 Thai soldiers, and 2 of them had what looked like a long leash, which led to handcuffs, and then
Oh,
2 ape like creatures. In detail, they were all tall. Most of them had to have been 6 feet, walking upright like us, had dark fur, some color as a chimpanzee, features of a chimpanzee, but the eyes look like humans. I know it sounds corny, but the only accurate way to describe them is that they look like the creatures from the Planet of the Apes. He goes on. They seem to be both male, though I couldn't be 100% sure, but the soldiers dressed them in jeans and long sleeve blue t-shirts. I remember this distinctly. They were sipping hot sweet tea with a small spoon, and they used the tea and drank much like human beings, just like us. No difference. There was a crowd around them. They didn't seem too bothered. To me, it seemed like they were used to the attention. They didn't act like how I presume an ape would act. I would say that they lean more to the human side in their behavior. So these creatures are ape-like looking, as he mentioned, Planet of the Apes text, but they acted very much like you and I, a human being. The 2 ape-like creatures seemed like they were used to humans. They didn't seem to mind us around them or crowding around them as a big crowd gathered. As I said, that they were sipping Thai tea, which is served in a glass cup. They knew how to pick up the spoon and stir the tea and then put it back in the tea and then take the spoon to their mouths and drink. And they also went to the container to sip like a human. I presume they must have been captured for a while. They seemed to be at ease around us, though they barely took any notice of us at the same time. They wore clothing, as I said. They walked like us. They were not huge, not gorilla like in their physique, no big heads, no huge shoulders, like some of the pictures I've seen while researching on the internet. They were like men with a chimpanzee mask, or half man, half chimpanzee, is the best way I can describe them. Although these were not men dressed up in costumes, that I can say as fact. I do remember that they didn't seem to have hair on their face, maybe around the face frame and the protruding ape like mouth, human like eyes, dark, but it was the eyes that I remember the most. I remember vividly seeing pain in one of their eyes. The hair was black because they had a long sleeve t-shirt and jeans on. You could only really see so much. The crowd had packed into this tiny shop, and I remember the room was dark from the many bodies straining to see them. Who knows where the soldiers were taking them or what they were doing with them? I went back to the village of Thibon for the first time after many, many, many absent years. In 2004, and sadly, a lot of the houses had been either flooded away or had been burned down by a wildfire that happened many years back. My cousins still keep in contact with some people from there. I shall do my utmost to find out about them. I made a promise to myself to find out about my friends wherever they are. I will be going back again in a few years, so I shall keep you updated. Also, they must have come from the army base that was nearby, somewhere out there. Nobody knows about these creatures or what they were. I hope this information helped. I do feel better having shared this experience. Though my husband loves me. Oh, this is a woman, I guess. Sanjay's a woman. Okay. I guess, according to this. Though my husband loves me very much, I think he did give me a funny glance when I told him about it. Few people that I can share this experience with better than those do not believe me, although some in the village do. The soldiers didn't seem threatened or bothered by them. After drinking their tea, they left. I remember watching one of them sip his tea with his spoon, the sad look in his eyes. I'll never forget the sad look in the eyes. To this day, if I could find them again, I would want to free them. Goodness knows where they came from or what happened to them, but I do know that the Thai army had something to do with it. We were talking about a tiny little community in the deepest, thickest part of southern Thailand. No one would have had the money to pay for a practical joke like that, let alone come up with costumes. Thought I thought I never thought of researching to see if there was an army base nearby, although somebody does know about them. Sadly, I feel that perhaps they were killed. I've not heard anything about them anymore, but who knows? I pray not. Thank you for letting me send this email to you. Yours, Sanjay.
Hmm.
That's yeah, hey, I thought that was interesting, Tex.
You know what it sounds like to me from the description? They sound like Neanderthals.
Mm.
I'm going to go. I think that's what they were. I think there may be either some people that have a lot more of the Neanderthal DNA in them
Hmm.
than the quote unquote 5% that we find. And maybe it's the dominant gene and they're more Neanderthal than they are modern human. And because they've rebooted what they think Neanderthals look like, and they were more chimp-like than human-like. So that very well could be it. I mean, if they were able to communicate with them, and I mean, it's not unreasonable if they would wear clothes, you know, and possibly be maybe they just found a tribe of them and they were taking them back for study. I hope if they didn't feel threatened or whatever, but maybe they were the last of their tribe or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah, I remember looking at pictures of Neanderthals, like you say, and they kind of look human-like with that chimp-looking face. And
right.
what about the clothing, though? Neanderthals back in the day, of course, didn't wear clothes, or did
Well, we
they
don't
wear
know.
like deer skin or something? I mean, these people, these creatures, or whatever you want to call them, according to the Sanjay person, said they had jeans on and long sleeve T-shirts.
Well,
I
that
mean,
may
did
be
they dress them, or
that may be what they gave them,
Hmm.
to wear. Maybe they, if they were wearing animal skins or no clothes at all, maybe they, dressed them to take them into the public eye.
I do find it kind of sad that they were chained, handcuffed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm picturing like a collar around the neck, maybe with a leash, because the person did mention a leash
Yeah.
and handcuffs.
Yeah, I'm picturing something like a chain gang type thing going on.
Yeah, and they have them, and this person did make the point several times about sipping tea like human beings. I mean, they knew how to use a spoon.
Mm-hmm.
They stirred the tea, sometimes put the spoon to their mouth to sip on the tea, used whatever cup they were using and drank it like we would.
Yeah. I think it very well may have been a tribe of Neanderthals. That's what I'm going with.
And I also think back on this. This person says they're 6 or 7. And I said, like, today, according to the years the person gave me, makes them like 45 today.
Right.
And I guess just recently circulated this. I wonder why it took so long, which again, I get it, people, the fear factor, but this wasn't
Right.
fearful. Maybe not unbelievable. And a little Patty even brings up a good point. At 6 or 7, maybe this was just a dream. I don't know.
It could have been because, I mean, a young age, at a young age like that, humans have a tough time distinguishing reality from dreams. That's one reason we hear a lot about, young kids not, you really have to calm down after a nightmare because to them it's real,
To them, it is real. And again, reflecting back on, I mean, you've heard this many times when I told you I saw ghosts that I thought were ghosts at 6 or 7 years old. Remember that text in my bedroom?
Yeah.
And with my brother, and he never seen them. I always woke up crying in my mom and dad's bedroom, and they always told me I was dreaming. And then the one night when I seen the ghost again, I woke up my brother, and I'm awake. And as I'm awake, I see this thing. My brother can't see it. Then, of course, he starts crying again. Back to mom and dad's bedroom. We ran.
Right.
And then that lasted. I seen that text a handful of times, half a dozen at least, as a younger kid, right? And then again, as parents do, they tell us you're just having a nightmare. So it kind of, during that point in my life, I guess, was resounded to the fact that maybe I was dreaming. But as a kid, I know it was just all too real.
Right.
However, then again, you fast forward when I'm 26, 27 years old, as I told you. When I'm married, I seen the same ghost from my childhood in our bedroom. And I
Right.
woke up my wife and I'm like, hey, did you see that? And she goes, what are you talking about? You're having a nightmare. Go back to bed. But that for me was the affirmation that I saw was a ghost. Because
Right.
I don't know much about dreams. I've not studied much on it. But my dreams, I will tell you this, I have a lot of part 1 and part 2 dreams.
Mm-hmm.
Where, it'll be a Tuesday night. I have a cool dream, a bad dream. Wow. Wake up. And then the next day it continues.
Yep.
You've had that before?
Oh yeah. I've, especially with cryptid dreams, Bigfoot in particular. I've had dreams about outings or investigations, however you want to put it, and it will be several different parts. The dream will continue, and it's pretty cool, actually. because I hate getting woke up in an interesting an interesting dream and going, man, that would have been cool. I want to go back to sleep and finish it.
Well, those are the dreams I've tried to go right back to sleep. Those I don't pick up. I'll pick it up the next day, which is crazy. And I haven't had that experience in a while. And then, of course, I had something else which is totally crazy is the sleep paralysis stuff. But moving back on this story really quick, do you think that if there's two, there had to have been more of these beings, people, Neanderthals? I mean, they had two. I'm just wondering if there was a family of these things, which I wish hopefully the person keeps me updated on that because and they're talking about the Thai soldiers. I don't know. It just is very interesting.
Yeah, I think they ran across a tribe or maybe didn't run across a tribe, but ran across these two individuals and were able to capture them without killing them, and they were instructed to bring them back. So I do think that it's very possible that there are, groups or tribes, whatever you want to call them, of Neanderthals out there, especially, in dense jungles and stuff that maybe haven't, been completely westernized or whatever, civilized, but to the point to where they are able to use, cups and, stuff like that. Because, I mean, there's tribes all over the world that haven't had any contact with, civilization that use all kinds of, tools. I mean, they do tattoos, they cook, they, use utensils, the whole 9 yards. They have weapons. So why, if these things have been around for this long, why wouldn't they advance? Because they're not all that different from us.
No, they're not. Another thing I came across some time ago was I like reading up on the Amazon, the rainforest in the Amazon jungle, and actually I came across this documentary where they were talking about primitive people, but they look much like apes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they were a tribe of these. Now they weren't dressed, they didn't have clothes, they were like more like apes, but again, more like human apes. And what they did is they fashioned tools, and they seen some of these ape people, whatever you want to call them, along along the river, and they devised actual spears, and they were like a human being spearing fish out of the river. But they're not you and I. They're not necessarily Bigfoot either, but they're not a gorilla. I mean, I don't even know that there's a classification, right? And also, as they further investigate in these dwellings in the surrounding areas, outside of the spears, they saw a lot of hand fashioned tools, knives, shovels, picks, material to make fire. And they came across some of these villages made of stone where they were placed stone and built fortresses. Or I shouldn't say fortresses, huts made of stone and mud. But yet these creatures, whatever, I don't know, I hate to call them a creature, don't know what they are, but they were human, but not human.
Well, even in the Stone Age, we, us and other subspecies of us were using, tools and fabricating tools and using fire and all that kind of stuff, and had rituals and everything. So this doesn't surprise me in the least that these things were that intelligent at all. They may not have been Neanderthals, but they could have been another subspecies of human.
I think.
I mean, what they've got. They've they've identified what, a dozen so far, and used to, back in our day when we was in school, Rob, we didn't hear about all of these subspecies of humans. It was just Neanderthals, and that was it. And back then we were told that it was Neanderthals and then us, and we didn't exist together, and or much less interbreed. But now all that's came out. But so
another interesting thing I came across was, we've all heard of little people.
Mhm.
Different shapes, sizes, different looks about them, some kind of creepy little creatures. And I came across this other one. And again, a lot of this I've been researching and looking into, like the forests of the Amazon, right? Brazil or wherever, Africa.
Right.
And the little people, I didn't realize this. When I think little people, I think they're like odd looking creatures, maybe just like these apes that I just talked about with the spears. But I've seen photos of little people that, and anybody can look these up, they're public knowledge. Literally, Tex, they're 3.5 foot human beings.
Yeah.
Swarms of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe is that a pygmy? I don't.
Well, they're
Uh,
dadgummit. I cannot remember what the name is. Dino something. Dinosapiens.
Yeah, I've heard of something similar.
Yeah.
Dinosapien, Dinosapien, Mino.
But
But that's a tribe that just roams the rainforest.
yeah.
Nobody thinks of it, and they're human. I think they're human. But I gotta wonder what type of DNA they're made of. It just can't be 100% human either. I don't know.
Well, no. I mean, like I said, their DNA is different, but it's not different enough to where we can't, interbreed. Which may have been the case of this tribe. They may have interbred with humans. I'm trying to find. Okay, here we go. There's 14 different human species. Okay, according to mainstream science.
Donnie and Duke mentioned, I don't know what I'm talking. Donnie and Duke both said, "Are you talking Denisovans?"
Yes, Denisovians. Thank you.
Now Duke says those were huge. Now maybe that's the ones I saw. I didn't see on the documentary with the spears.
So, according to mainstream,
Of course.
the classification of human species within the zoological taxonomy is the genus Homo, and it's designed to include modern humans as well as archaic humans. The you have Homo erectus, Homo sapiens. Let's see where. And also, it's controversial, but there's also phenotypes are they're originally classified as subspecies, but contemporary anthropologists reject the concept of race as a useful tool to understanding humanity. Instead view humanity as a complex, interrelated genetic continuum. So I would. So Homo sapiens have Denisovans, Neanderthals, um, Heidelbergensis, and then you have Human erectus, which you have. Let's see. So Australopithecus, and hominy. There's, and then it goes down to the chimpanzee split, the gorilla split, and even earlier apes. Um, yeah, but,
I guess. Well, the bottom line is there's many
yeah,
versions,
absolutely,
races. I mean,
absolutely.
there's that have not even been discovered. Probably more discovered than you and I know about. But I mean,
Yeah, they say 14 at this point, but publicly.
to me,
So
it's always fascinating how these things, these people, creatures, beings, how they come about, where their origin comes from. That to me is always a fascinating thing. And even somebody, D Truth, was mentioning the caveman.
yeah,
You think that the government talks about the caveman, but they really think that's the word for Bigfoot. I mean, I don't know. I haven't heard the government talk about the caveman in quite some time. But is the caveman and Neanderthal man the same?
well, see, but the thing about it is, caveman is such a broad term. I
It could be,
mean,
yeah.
it could be so many things.
So when we go back to prehistoric times when dinosaurs roamed, I'm not even so sure that dinosaurs, sure, we've seen it in the movies. I don't even think that there were cavemen or Neanderthal men alive during the era of the dinosaur.
Right.
I don't think there was humans out. Just like, you saw the Raquel Welch movie,
Yeah.
where she's running around with, T-Rex chasing her down. I don't think humans were on the planet during the existence of the dinosaur. Now, I could be incorrect. I think they ruled and humans weren't even around.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't think we're being told everything for sure. You know. Um. So here's some that I haven't heard of. Homo galtinguus, Homo galtinginus, had big teeth suitable for chewing plant materials. It was small brain, probably ecological specialist. It apparently produced and used stone tools. May even have made fire, and there's evidence for burnt animal bones with this species. And you also have Homo habilis, is the least similar to modern humans of all in the genus of Homo, and its classification of Homo has been subject to controversial debate since the first proposal in the 1960s. It was short and disproportionately long armed compared to modern humans. Um, it had the cranial capacity slightly less than half the size of modern humans, despite the ape-like morphology of the bodies. You had Homo agaster, had thinner bones, more protrusive faces, and a lower forehead. This species had reduced sexual dimorphism, a smaller, more orthogonous, less protrusive face, a smaller dental arcade, and larger cranial capacity. Um, they remained stable for about 500,000 years in Africa before disappearing from the fossil record. And let's see, we got, of course, Homo erectus, had a cranial capacity greater than that of Homo habilis. The earliest remains show a cranial capacity of 850 centimeters. That doesn't sound right. While the latest Javian species measure up to 1,100 centimeters, overlapping those of Homo sapiens. The frontal bone is less sloped and dental arcade is smaller. The face is more orthogonal, orthoganic, golly. I need to go back to school.
It's all those big words, Tex, but I
I
appreciate
know.
you looking this stuff up, man.
No problem.
I
You
know.
have Homo rudolphus. Um, these were less protrusive face, more rounded brain case. Um, the size difference in the mandible and teeth would be too great compared to a Homo habilis. Homo rudolphus had massive teeth in comparison to the habilis. Then you had Homo antecessor, which was about 5.5 to 6 feet tall. They weighed the males roughly weighed 200 pounds. There's little known about the because they haven't found a whole lot of them. Might have been right-handed, a trait that makes the species different from other apes. Oh, this is weird. The hypothesis is based on tomography techniques. Also claims that the frequency range of audition is similar to Homo sapiens, which makes them support that Homo. Good God Almighty!
Well, let me
Yeah,
ask you.
I mean, it's just there's a lot of them. Homo rhodesians was found in a lead and zinc mine in northern Rhodesia,
So,
now Zambia.
okay, so obviously, and thanks for that, Tex. We've discovered all these big long words, all the things that
Yeah,
kind of like this. I mean, it's kind of a little science show, right? That we're doing here. I don't know. We just threw this together, and I gotta say that with all of these cultures, all of these different walks of life, whether the human, animal, combination, or whatever. So all these civilizations, I should say, right?
right.
All these communities. Where do you think then? This is kind of an obscure question because we all have our theories about Bigfoot. Where do you think Bigfoot comes into place with all of this? You think perhaps it evolved from any of these things? It's
I
just
think so.
separate. You think so? So
I
you
think so.
think it's
I
just
think
a big
they're.
anomaly of everything and anything?
I think they're. I think they're somewhere in here that we just haven't. Um, again, we go back to Gigantopithecus, and I think mainstream gave us Bigfoot on a silver platter. They just didn't call it Bigfoot because there's a lot of controversy on actually how that critter looked. A lot, the most of the images that we get are they're artist renditions because they don't have a lot to go on. They have a mandible, or I think a mandible and some teeth. So there's a lot of interpretation in that artist rendering. So they talk about it looking like a big orangutan, but there's others that talk about it looking more human. So I think they gave us Bigfoot, but they just didn't call it Bigfoot. Because I mean they gave us a 10-foot bipedal ape. What else do you want, folks?
With the
Will it
gigantic.
get there? Yeah, I fully believe that it will get there. But the little ones that you were talking about, just see, is the Oris or Hobbit. They were believed about 3.5 feet tall. So they were Homo forensis, is what the little people were. And the Denisovians were discovered in March 2010. They supposedly lived about 41,000 years ago in Siberia, which a cave which has also been inhabited by Neanderthals and Homo sapiens.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah. And then Duke brings up a point which I've heard this from him before about the Gigantopithecus, that they don't have a DNA sequence that matching up with the Sasquatch sequencing DNA. So yeah, I mean I'm just wondering if certain species have just evolved and mated over time too. It's always hard for me. You hear the stories about a Bigfoot mating with a human. And of course,
Yeah,
I think, I don't know. Me, I'm not really in the aper camp when it comes to Bigfoot. I could maybe go more with an ancient human being of sorts. But then again, I'm so back and forth with what I think because of what I saw, number one, and from all the people's different encounters and experiences, right?
right.
The different researchers. I mean, some are credible, some aren't. I get all that. You ever think that we're just going to get that answer unless you're not? There are people out there, Tex, and I know maybe you believe this, maybe you don't. There are people out there that do actually have a clan on their property that they communicate.
Right.
And I'm not saying mind speak or anything like that, but they're there and they live there. And they say, Rob, they look like human beings, much like the thing I saw looked like a human.
Right.
But then it wasn't all of a sudden, right?
Well, I think there's different versions, much like what all the subspecies we just talked about. I think they're as different as you and I. Some may look like Donnie Cho, and some may look like, us. And I mean, look at all the different types of human. If you took somebody that had never seen, okay, let's say you take somebody from another planet, or even one of these undiscovered tribes, okay, and you had three different races of people walk up in their village. How would they view that? Would they view that as totally different animals? Would they, because our skin color changes, our the morphology of us, the facial structures and everything are different. So how would it be viewed to somebody that had never seen anybody but themselves? You know what I'm saying? And as far as the whole Gigantopithecus thing, that's where the waters for me get really muddy, because where do you everybody has to draw a line where they're going to trust mainstream science. Okay, do you trust them that all the DNA reports and everything else that they've, and these artist renditions and the info, you think they just poured it out there and they told us everything they know? I don't think so at all. I think it's a slippery slope when you start, okay, I'm going to believe science here, but I'm not going to believe them over here. Okay.
Well, I think with mainstream science, they don't acknowledge the existence of Bigfoot anyways, right? I mean, they just flat out don't. At least that's what their perception is. That's what they lead us all on to believe. They don't exist.
Absolutely.
Possible.
I don't. It's. I think the fact that Bigfoot is so massive, for the most part, not all of them are, but for the most part, they're bigger and they're not human. Okay, as far as their looks and stuff. That one of the things that is keeping us from disclosure is how would the general public react to having a subspecies of human still living amongst us? Because whereas Bigfoot pretty much leave us alone. I mean, sure, we've got the reports of good and bad interactions. We can't leave well enough alone as humans. The first thing we want to do when we see something different than us is kill it. So everything that we do, it's the whole uncanny valley thing. Everything that we see that looks close to us but is different scares us. Anything humanoid that we can't, communicate with, like me and you are talking right now, scares us. How many times have we heard about quote unquote aggressive encounters with these creatures that are, in my mind, not aggressive at all. They're just trying to keep the encounter from getting aggressive. They're no different than any other wild animal. Well, humans can't deal with wild animals that we see every day. That when you've got this, you've got a mama dog, and she's got a litter of pups. You go to grab a pup, she bites you, and people say that's aggressive. That's not aggressive. That's protection. What would you do if some stranger walked up to you and just snatched one of your kids? It's no different. It's
No.
that maternal instinct to protect your offspring. So I think it's a lot of the human arrogance and self-centeredness that we think we think that we can be the only intelligent creature. I think they're talking about now trying to actually communicate and break down the language of dolphins. For a lot of people, that's a scary thought, because if there's another species on the planet that actively communicates, but you still can't. I mean, you got people around the world that are still killing baby seals and dolphins and everything else for meat. When you give these things a language and give these things a personality and a culture, what's that going to do to people? So I think we're kind of looking at the same thing as far as Bigfoot goes. I don't trust mainstream science at all.
Yeah, and it's better off that. I tell you what, I'm happy with the way it's going right now, because I got to tell you, as human beings, you say when we find something new, we want to kill it, we want to research it, we want to lock it up and study it. I, for one, whatever my views are, would not want these things discovered and we've got them captured and we're mutilating them for our own knowledge, which probably, frankly, Tex, goes on today, because I believe that the government have these things, have these Bigfoot,
absolutely.
they've got them, and they've experimented on them. They've done this,
Mm-hmm.
that, the other, and a whole bunch of probably horrific things. And all I can say is this: from what I experienced myself, it looked like a human being, man, in the very beginning. What it transformed into afterwards, now that I look back on it, I think it was just a defense mechanism where it morphed into something that I used to call a demon. Well, I still do, but today my view has changed on that, right?
Right.
But you make a great point. And we get all these encounters and all these people saying that, just like mine, Bigfoot was throwing rocks at me. They think that's aggressive. Or Bigfoot was walking through my camp and knocked down my tent. Or this, that, and the other. They're really, it's maybe just letting you know they're there and just stay away. And they're not being overly aggressive. Like, people suggested that, and people told me, and I don't know how true or accurate this is. A lot of times when they're throwing rocks at somebody, that they have little ones around, or
Yeah.
they throw a log at you, or they howl or make the whoop.
Yeah.
It's not because they're out to get you. It's because, get away, they got kids. And I got to
Right.
tell you what, the Bigfoot knows the human being. The Sasquatch knows the human. They know we're dangerous. They know we carry weapons. I'll be damn right that they're going to be aggressive if you're threatening them in their area when they have their family with them, their family
Absolutely.
meeting. Just like
I
you and
mean,
I would do out in the woods camping with our family, and a bunch of strangers showed up. That's eerie, man, isn't it? You'd be
yeah.
like on guard. You'd have your weapon on your side, say, "Who the hell are you? What are you doing in my camp?" Unannounced, sneaking
Well, I
around.
mean, we do. We when we go out there, a lot of us arm ourselves. Some of us arm ourselves for because we're scared of these Bigfoot creatures. Okay. Myself, I arm myself for other wildlife. Pigs is the main one. I mean, and other humans. You know, especially like in Brown Springs, man, the great North American, meth head population is blooming out there, so you have to be, and I mean, we all know how inherently humans, if you have, unfortunately, there's a lot of humans out there that don't have what you have, and all they know, and they don't want to work for what they have. They want to take it, which has been, I mean, our society's based on conquering, and it's just another version of that. I want what you have, so I'm going to kill you to get it, which is unfortunate, but that's just how we as humans are.
Yeah, we are. We're always meddling in affairs we shouldn't meddle in. We can't leave anything alone. We just can't. This is our human nature.
Yeah, no,
Maybe not mine or yours, although, we're interested in look into these subjects, right? Go out in the field, but there's always something else behind it. And there's always, what the thing is, the bottom line is every fashion has a narrative. Mainstream media, mainstream science, researchers in the field, people that have encounters, this, that, and the other, right?
Yep.
It's just too many. It's all subsets of one main set, which just mumbles and jumbles up everything for everybody else.
Right.
I
mean, you got these supposedly seasoned, Bigfoot researchers or whatever you want to call them. That won't even, they're scared of the dark. They won't even get off their damn front porch if they live out in the wood.
That's
let's go out into a place, the first twig snap they hear, these creatures are coming in too close and too fast. We got to get out. I'm sorry, you can't. You lose all credibility with me. You just really do.
Hey, listen, man, what's the purpose of going out as a quote unquote researcher into the field looking for Bigfoot or whatever you're looking for, and you come across something that's foreign to you or alien to you, then you just turn around and run away? That ain't I welcome that. I would love to. I'm not going to turn around and run.
Well, that's the whole reason when I go camping and, in these active areas, a lot of times I've done it by myself, that I leave my rain fly off as much as I possibly can, because I want that experience to roll over and see this big grinning face at me, outside my tent. Because I'm there to research or have an experience with what I'm actually looking for. I'm not going to run away when I find out they're in the area. That's what you're there for, folks. But there is a lot of researchers out there that, and plus the problem is, every time a twig snaps, it's not Bigfoot, folks. Every time you hear something walking in the brush, it's not freaking Bigfoot. Okay.
Yeah, and when
your encounters are with an actual Bigfoot when you're researching are rare at best. Okay. I'm just saying. Are there are those out there that have more encounters than, say, a lot of these people on TV, because we don't traipse around with 9,000 people carrying cameras out there with us. How they expect to have an encounter like that, I don't know. But, it's, I get it, they want to document and everything, but they're not really documenting anything. They're documenting them walking around in the woods. They're not. The chances of them having an encounter are slim to none, because walking around the woods and going, here, Bigfoot, ain't gonna work.
Yeah, well, yeah.
9 times out of 10, you just mind your own damn business. They'll come to you if they want to.
Yeah, and that's the bottom line, Tex. You don't go, man. It's all about your intentions. If you intend to looking and finding something, you're not going to find. They find you. I firmly believe that. You can find evidence, but you're not. And listen, they show you themselves. We're talking about the weekend warriors. I respect anybody that goes in the woods looking for these things. I do. I'm not
Yeah,
criticizing anybody. But typically, you got to spend more than 24 hours. I mean, a lot of times these Bigfoot, Sasquatch, they're warming up to you in their
yeah,
environment. Let's say you're there
absolutely.
2 or 3 days. By third day, it's Sunday. You got to go to work Monday. Now you're packing up your gear. Well, guess
Yeah,
what? You're missing out. Why'd you even bother to go in the first place? Now I get it. We only have the weekend to do things, and I get that. I respect that. But if you are quote unquote one of these researchers that you proclaim to be, and you only do that, you got to get deep into the woods. You go off trail. You don't really have to go off trail. I
no, you
personally
don't.
don't.
I mean,
You don't, but you probably should go deeper into the forest. But you
well,
cannot
it's
expect
like
to find anything.
you've got these active areas, like, well, and your state and national parks arguably have been made to give these things space. And I mean, I found, my second daylight sighting turned out to be from a post that obviously they were using to observe the campsite from a safe distance. And I think they do that a lot. That's been me and Pops have been out in the woods a lot together. And that's pretty much always been the case. They will come check you out, you know. Now, I respect these fellas that go out when they, some of us, we don't have the time to go out and spend 3, 4, 5 days out in the
No, we
brush.
don't.
But at least they're trying. If they're going out and staying for the duration of a weekend, at least they're trying.
No,
At
they
least
are
they're not
trying.
running
I didn't
off.
mean anything. I wasn't knocking
Yeah.
them. It's just like, my
No, I agree
personal.
with. No, I agree
Yeah.
with what you're saying.
Yeah.
Odds are, you're not going to have an encounter till the third day or so. But if you're going to have one at all, but yeah. But if that's all the time you got, and that's at least you're doing it. At
No,
least you're
I
not running scared
that's
from every
awesome.
time an armadillo walks through your, beside your camp.
Even the guy spends 24 hours, because but you
Mhm.
love it and you want to go out there. Hey, that's great. Just
Right.
go out, don't expect nothing, and don't turn around when and don't think that the squirrel that's playing jokes on you is Bigfoot, or
Right.
whatever else, or or
Yeah,
the
because
deer that
squirrels and crows will throw stuff at you out of the tree. I'm
yeah,
just
sure they will. Yeah, they will.
and an armadillo sounds like a freaking tank going through the woods, going through the
Yeah.
under. But every little sound that you hear is not a Bigfoot, folks.
No.
And odds are, if it is, they ain't gonna bother you. They're curious. Where
Yeah,
they're
that's all.
entertained.
And also, just because the forest goes eerily silent, it's not necessarily Bigfoot, but
Absolutely.
probably a predator.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I can make a loud noise and make the sign and and make everything shut up for a period
It'll
of
go
time.
silent for a moment.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh yeah.
Yep.
I
It is strange though. It is strange though when you do certain sounds, like when you try your best to um, uh, duplicate what you believe to have been a Bigfoot sound or a call or whatever, that the forest will go silent for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
I've experienced that up to 45 minutes. I mean, so it's, you just got to remember that, you're not the only thing out there.
No.
And treat what else is out there like you would treat somebody walking in their, visiting their house. I mean, that's how I do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, listen, we're in their house.
Yeah.
Technically. They're not in ours. This way to look at it. I am as I said, Tex, man, I do have to take my mom off to the doctors to get her eyes worked on, and she's not gonna be able to see. Tex, I got to tell you, for those listening on in, I'm going to have to reformat this brunch with Rob, Bigfoot Rob, and Tex is going to have to reformat it a little bit. I don't know what I'm got in the works for you guys coming next Thursday because my buddy Tex, he's leaving the show for 6 weeks on hiatus. Well, it's mostly work related. So
It is work related, plain and simple.
Yeah, it's plain and simple. I didn't want to, I just kind of, embellished it a little bit, I guess. So yeah, I don't know what I'll be doing. I'll be doing the shows as usual. Brent Thomas will be coming in as a co-host once in a while. And of course, whenever I get a guest on this show format, I'm not having as many guests. That's only Tuesday nights because it's so hard to get people on at 1:00 in the afternoon. Most people are working. And of course, with summer coming, a lot of people are out in the field. So I'm going to change up the format just a little bit moving forward. It's going to be the same time, same show. Been doing this now for this show 4 years, Tex.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Same and it all started because you were thinking about doing a sports show with your brother.
I was going to start a sports show. Yeah, I evolved into a cryptid show, paranormal show, And now it's evolved into more of a variety throughout the week, right? So yeah, we're evolving. Different audience for different shows, and which is awesome. So if you're new here, please subscribe to Bigfoot Mr. Rob in Texas Front Porch on YouTube. And I think the girls tonight, Blondes and Booze, have Doug Hijack coming on, who's a sponsor, by the way, for our Crossing Realms conference taking place September 18th and 19th, or 19th and 20th. One of the 19th and 20th.
Yeah. I was on After Dark Radio last night. Yesterday afternoon, but they've moved it to a terrestrial radio and podcast format. So if you want to find that episode, I was on After Dark Radio. You can find it anywhere you can find a podcast. iHeart and Spotify, any place like that, or any of their affiliates. So that was fun. It was Brian Alvarez.
Awesome. I'll check it out. I'll find it. Oh, and by the way, too, Tex, I didn't tell you that in the state of Michigan, the podcast side of this show.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm talking going up in my state. It's one of these people that do all this data and this research. There's many of them, but this one I found, they sent me an email. This show in Michigan. Now this goes up against like the Michigan Wolverines football podcast.
Right.
Some political podcasts. This show in the state of Michigan is coming in in the top 10.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations.
Michigan. Yeah. This show. And then for Bigfoot and Cryptids in my state, it's number 2.
Sweet.
Yeah. I mean, they haven't showed me the money.
Yeah. Right.
But it's out there. So that was kind of cool to see that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the smallest show that I do because it's 1:00 in the afternoon. But I was proud to see that. So I gotta give myself and you too, because we're both listed as the producers and hosts. It says Tex Wesson and Robert Carnico. So you had a lot to do with it because you've been on this show with me pretty much for the whole time, except for when you've had work things going on.
Yeah. Well, we actually started this show when it originally started. It was Brunch with Bigfoot, and it was on my channel.
Yeah, it was. That's right. In the very beginning, it was. Yeah. And so that was awesome. That was the start there. I was going to be a sports guy.
Yeah.
I'm a Bigfoot guy, cryptid guy, paranormal guy, turning into everything. So, yeah, I do have to run, take care of that business with my mom. So thanks to everybody for coming on in. So the show's going to look a little different for the next month and a half or so. No big deal. I'm still on Tuesday night, Friday night, Saturday night with Tex. Tex, you'll be on with me and the girls Saturday nights or every other Saturday?
Whenever I can, because the weekend will be, time for me and my wife. So whenever I can make it, I'll be there. Yeah.
So awesome. Well, very good, Tex. And again, I got to run. Thanks to everybody for coming on in. Please hit that like button on your way. It helps promote the shows. And thanks to everybody who's been with this show for, 4 years. That's unbelievable.
I know, it's crazy, right?
But yeah, so with that being said, I just got to find the buttons, Tex would say. Our Crossing Realms conference. Thank you, Tex. And I'll talk to you, I'll talk to you. See you guys.
All right, bro. Have a good day.
This is the future. Evolution.
The Crossing Realms Conference launches September 19th and 20th and will dock in Richmond, Missouri. This is already being called the event of the year, folks, with an unprecedented list of speakers and special guests, 2 days of cryptids, UFOs, and paranormal presentations, along with a celebrity-filled ghost hunt, meet and greet, gallery reading, vendors, and a film screening. This promises to be both educational and fun. Go to eventbrite.com to secure your tickets and vendor slots before they are all abducted. They're going fast.